So what if that white-knuckled, heart-pounding anxiety of your very first driving lesson could actually teach an AI how to be the perfect instructor? Today, we're going to dive into the incredible link between how our own brains learn to drive and how that exact process is being used to build the future of driver training. Come on, think back to it for a second. Your hands gripping the wheel so tight, your heart's pounding, you're trying to remember the pedals, check the mirrors, watch the traffic. It's just total sensory overload. Yep, we've all been there. And that feeling of chaos, that is the exact problem researchers are now solving with a really elegant piece of tech. But here's the wild part. What feels like complete and utter chaos to you is actually a super structured, incredibly complex process unfolding inside your brain. It's not just random panic. Nope, it's your mind getting down to business. So as you're navigating those first few, terrifying intersections, your brain isn't just learning which pedal is which. It's constructing this amazingly detailed cognitive map, a whole blueprint for how to handle this 2-ton machine safely. And this internal manual, well, that's the key to everything. Now, this internal manual, it actually has a proper name. Cognitive scientists call it a mental model, and you're going to want to remember that term. It's the core concept that makes all of this work, especially how an AI can learn to teach us. All right, so what is it exactly? A mental model is basically your brain's internal cheat sheet for how something works. When it comes to driving, it's this whole network that covers everything from steering and braking all the way to predicting what that crazy driver over there is going to do next. It's your brain's total understanding of the job. Let's think about it in a few ways. Sure, it's an instruction manual, but it's also a powerful mental simulator. Your brain uses it to run thousands of what-if scenarios a second. What if that car pulls out? What if I hit the brakes too hard? It's kind of like your brain's own personal GPS for the road, constantly recalculating the safest way forward. Okay, but here's the problem. Building that mental model in a real car on a real street, let's be honest, it's dangerous. One little mistake can be a big deal. And that's exactly where technology steps in. We can use AI to give our brains a much safer and way more effective space to build that crucial manual. The solution is an AI-powered instructor, what the researchers call a virtual pedagogical agent, which is a fancy term for a virtual co-pilot. Imagine having an instructor that not only sees what you're doing wrong, but actually understands what's going on in your head as you learn. I mean, that's the holy grail, right? So how does this all play out? First, the learner hops into a completely safe, totally convincing virtual reality driving simulator. Second, this AI agent is watching every single move, but it's also monitoring cognitive states, like is the driver getting overwhelmed? Are they confused? And finally, based on all that, it delivers perfectly timed, personalized feedback to build that mental model the right way. Of course, it's not quite that simple. This isn't a walk in the park. Research shows there are some real challenges here. Things like visual glitches or even a tiny, barely noticeable lag in the VR system can totally throw off your brain's working memory and actually make it harder to learn. So the design of the simulation itself has to be pretty much perfect. And that brings us to the real breakthrough, the big aha moment. If you want to build a truly intelligent AI instructor, you can't just program it with the rules of the road. No, the AI has to understand the very nature of learning itself. Just think about the best teacher you ever had. I bet they didn't just dump a bunch of facts on you. They taught you how to think, how to solve problems. They helped you get better at learning. That is the massive leap this AI needs to make. This really breaks down into 2 different levels of learning. On one hand, you have first-order adaptation. That's the simple part, just learning the skill, building that basic mental model of how to drive. But then you have second-order adaptation, and this is the real game changer. This isn't about learning to drive. It's about your brain learning how it learns to drive and getting better at the whole process. So here's the crucial takeaway. The goal isn't just an AI that acts like a glorified backseat driver saying, hey, you turned too wide back there. The absolute breakthrough is an AI that gets your unique learning process and tweaks its teaching style to help you become a better, more efficient learner. It's a true cognitive coach. The technology that makes this happen is just incredible. We're not talking about simple if-then programs. Researchers are building these adaptive networks that learn and change just like the neural pathways in our own brains. They're using complex math to handle all the gray areas of human judgment. Stuff like being a little too close to the car in front. It's a whole system designed not just to teach, but to actually model how we think. Okay, so Mental models, cognitive science, complex AI. What's the bottom line? Why does any of this matter? Well, because the payoff is incredibly simple and very, very real. Smarter training leads directly to safer roads for every single one of us. And when you put traditional driver's ed up against this new AI adaptive model, the potential is just enormous. We're not talking about a tiny improvement here. The goal is a massive leap forward in how effective and safe new drivers are when they hit the road. So, what does this future look like? Well, it means new drivers who don't just memorize the rules, they get it. They have a deep intuitive feel for driving. It means training that actually adapts to your personal learning style and can even account for things like whether you're tired or stressed. The end result? More confident, more capable drivers from day one. And in the end, it really all comes back to this one idea right from the research paper itself. The entire purpose, the whole reason for all this complex work is to enhance driver safety. It's about saving lives by fundamentally changing how we learn this critical skill. So, I'll just leave you with this one thought to chew on. For all of human history, we've just assumed that a human is the best teacher for a human skill. But all this new technology forces us to ask a pretty wild question. What if the safest, most effective, most insightful driving instructor on the planet isn't a human at all?